by what someone has done to you or trying to do to you, that they break your spirit, and your focus is never the gift that God gave you. Your focus is now the dehumanization that they put you through, that you never, ever, ever continue to rely on God. Your focus becomes the dehumanization of what's happening. So your gift never develops. It never grows. God never gets the glory, because the focus was the act of offense that was happened to you. Those people going to seek you out to offend you, because the devil operates too. He has soldiers. He has angels. He has people that he put in place to offend you, that you will never see your godly potential, that your focus will always be the offense. If we always focus on the offense, how can we focus on the glory? If we always focus on what the wicked is trying to do to us or what the wicked has done to us, then we never can focus on the gift that God has given us, because it becomes buried in the offense. Bad things happen to us all the time. But the bad thing that happened to us can't be the thing that constricts us or keeps us captive, become a prisoner, that we don't let nobody in and we don't let nothing out. The wicked is always seeking us. And look how disturbing it is. It's a culture. It's a tradition. What did you mean it's not a tradition? They say the young and the old come past the house to bring these men out that they may have relationships with them. That means it's passed on, traditional. So my point to it is this. You have to know that this world has what they call duality. There's good, there's bad. There's up, there's down. There's a box, there's a circle. You and I, the men and women of God, have to be prepared for this, and our preparation comes through the studying of this word. Our preparation comes from our affliction that we were afflicted from. This is how God gets the best out of us sometimes, through our affliction, through our pain, through our suffering. Diamonds are birthed in pressure. Say you either make diamonds or you bust pipes. Pressure does one or the other. You got to make sure that you are always positioned to hear from God. Abraham speaks in these scriptures, and he said, "Who am I that I get to speak to God?" Everybody has a voice, but everybody does not have the ear of God. If you are among the selected, and you have a voice that God is listening to, you are among the selected. You're chosen. And you cannot be treated like they treat people in child care. In child care, they'll hire anybody because anybody will do. There's no expectation but just to be a body. But when you're selected by the Most High, that means you have prominence. You special. And therefore, you have to respond that same way. Let's get back into the scripture. Let's keep in mind that the evil one, I just want to reiterate this just for the fact of pointing it out again, that don't let the thing that offended you be the thing that keeps you a prisoner. And, I know somebody may say, well, who is he to say that to me? He don't know what was done to me. I do know what was done to you, because there's nothing new under the sun. I just need to know how you respond to it. Whether you was lied on, whether you was beaten, whether you was starved as a child, whether you was molested as a child, whatever these offensive things happen, they happen, and we move on from it. We become teachers of it, and we still give God the glory. Because what the devil does is to attack you in that offense that you never give God the glory, that you don't even think about God. Some people, when these bad things happen, they curse God. And by cursing God, there's a avenue or something that never matriculates. It never develops. It's a seed that just falls, that has fallen on bad ground. Don't let the offense be the thing that keeps you in the state of despair. All right, let's move on. I had made some notes of what I said. Yeah, these men, their goal was dehumanization. They wanted to dehumanize. Watch this. Let's read on. There's something so, watch this. Let's read on. And they called unto Lot and said unto him, Where are the men which came in this night? Bring them out that we may know them. And Lot went out to the door unto them and shut the door after him and said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly. Behold, I have 2 daughters which have not known man. Let me pray you, bring them out unto you. And do you thee as good in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing. For therefore they came under the shadow of the roof. Watch this. Look what Lot did. He offered to the wicked to preserve the righteous, the 2 things of great value to him, his daughters. You have to take a look at his heart, that he was offering up 2 of the most valuable things on the planet to him to preserve the righteous. Here's a question to you. What have you offered up of value that will sustain life for someone else to ensure that they never experience the things that you have experienced? And I'm not saying you're trying to make their life cushiony, but you're trying to make them avoid some things that they should never have to go through. What is it of value that you are willing to sacrifice for someone else? Has anyone sacrificed some value for you? I'm sure someone has. This is called being unselfish. This is a selfless heart. I don't care what Lot did. We can confirm and affirm this, that there has been a change in Lot from the moment that he recognized the men that was righteous to the time and the point where he offered what was valuable to this monstrous group that wanted to dehumanize him. He offered not 1 daughter, but 2. There comes a time in our life that is going to have to become some sacrifices, things that are valued to us, to preserve some others. There's going to have to be a point where the preservation is more important than what you have now. Not the preservation. Self-preservation always takes place. I got that. But we have to get to a point where we want to preserve something greater. This is what Lot did. Lot realized that there was men greater than himself. You have to be willing to sacrifice something of value. See, I know this. I know many people do this. This I know. Many people will give you whatever you want as long as it doesn't cost them anything. They will give you anything you want as long as it does not cost them anything. If it don't cost them no money, oh, you can have it. If it don't cost them no time, go ahead, I got you. If it don't cost them no discomfort, oh, but the minute it starts to cost them something, then you won't get it. If it costs them their time, some of them won't give it to you. If it costs them their money, some of them definitely won't give it to you. I learned that people will give you any, and you confuse it. You think he or she is always helpful. but he or she makes it appears that way. They'll give you whatever you want because it don't cost them nothing. But the minute it costs them something, see how many of them are going to give you the same thing that you've been asking for. One of the selfless acts that this guy did, he offered up his 2 daughters. Not 1 daughter, but 2. Even though it did not happen where his daughters were going to be victimized, because these were men of God, who God sent them, who they were blessed on that very purpose. Let's move on. But he didn't know that. He didn't know that. The lesson here for us to learn is this. Sometimes you're going to have to give some things up of value, even if it costs you something, because the return will be greater. It's almost like that old cliche is you can't make money without spending money. And this we know to be a fact. Let's move on. All right, let's go to chapter 19. Let's go to verse 9. And they say, stand back. And they said again, this one fellow came into sojourn, and he will need be a judge. Now watch this wickedness. Now, he says, now will we deal worse with thee than with them. And they pressed sword upon the men, even Lot, and came near to break the door down. This is what I said earlier. This is a culture. This is tradition. Tradition and culture is fine when it's not offensive to God and hurtful to the people. Your tradition should never, and I told you this last week, your tradition should never trump the principles of God. Let's move on. But the men put forth their hands and pulled Lot into the house to them and shut the door and smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great. So they were worried. So they worried themselves to find the door. And then I'm at chapter 12. I'm at chapter 19, verse 12. And the men said unto Lot, hasten thou here and beside. And the men said unto him, to Lot, hast thou here any beside son-in-law and thy sons and thy daughters, and whatsoever that has in the city, bring them out of this place. When I read this, I wrote and read the warning. It's so funny because you will hear the warning in your life over and over and over again, and you will ignore it. You'll deal with the constant pain and the constant suffering, and you will hear the voice of God telling you to move, go forward, get up out of this place, get out of this situation, get out of this marriage, get out of this relationship, get out of this job, get out of this career, get out of this friendship, and you ignore it because I learned that misery is a source of comfort. You'll be so comfortable in your misery that you won't be able to get what God has for you. And I realized this, that misery can and will provide a level of comfort. But its absence is the joy. There's no joy and no happiness in misery. There may be a level of comfort in your misery, but it's devoid of joy. When the warning comes, and listen, here's the other thing. When the warning comes, and what's so annoying, I was telling a friend of mine this last week, all the abductions that's taking place with children, particularly black children and young black women, we know this for a fact. And I had a conversation with someone that's dear to my heart. And I said, they may have to put a leash on their child, on their children when they're walking with them. And they say that's too much. But it's not too much. If